So, here's another little history question here for you. Could you share any memories you have of going to the racetrack with Ronnie and some of your other buddies?
Uh, yeah, right down the road, Speedway Park was only 2 or 3 blocks from where me and Ronnie lived at the end of Carter Street, and then you come up 1 block where Ronnie lived, and then a block and a half is where I lived, and we were just a stone's throw from Speedway Park, and as kids, we would go to the park. Most of the time, we'd climb up the pine trees between the second and third turn, and we'd watch the race, keep them having to buy a ticket or whatever, and we'd watch the race out of the pine trees, and then occasionally, if there was a wreck or something went on the between 3 and 4, and the action was over on that way, we would come down the tree and run across up the track and run across the track into the pit area, and we get in the pit area. We did that 100 times, and but most of the time we'd sit in the trees and watch the race, and you could see the whole track from up in that tree, and number one, if there wasn't no wreck or no action to run across the track, you'd have to run across the track when the race was going on, in between the cars and stuff, and them cars running 70, 80, 90 mile an hour on that old dirt track. You had to get across that thing. If you stumbled, you had to be real careful. So we'll wait till the right time to run across the track, to get in there free. And we did it for years as kids, all the way up into, good Lord, till we got married, moved, and we all moved away. And I got married in '67. Ronnie got married in '60. The baby was born in '67. He got married in '66, I guess. And I got married in '67, right about the time his daughter was born, Tammy. But we spent many Saturday nights at that racetrack, running back and forth, back across there.
Do you ever get caught sneaking in?
One time, and they didn't run us out because when they called us inside the pit area, the race was still going on, so they couldn't take us either way, and we just got reprimanded. And we knew drivers, Leroy Yarber and all the David Ezel, all of the famous drivers back then. We knew all the people, and everybody knew us, and it just go on, and if it was the right person. If it was just a nobody, you just don't worry about it. And the guy that owned it, Julian Klein, Butch, his son was Butch. We all knew Butch and everything, but they didn't want you to. Number one, it wasn't that you was sneaking in the track. You was breaking the rules, and it was dangerous, especially if the race was on, running between the cars, and catching. It's a half-mile track. If you get the last guy around the track, and the track's a half mile, it's only a quarter mile for 80, 90 mile an hour to come. So you had to run like hell to get over there, and it was more dangerous, than it was getting caught, because if you fell, you had to get up and scuffle across that track quick, and that's what they were worried about. Is one of us getting run over,
Anybody have any close calls like that?
Yeah, not to the point that close your eyes, but yeah, and then of course you have times parts of the car would fly off, Sometimes the tires, they were those big old dirt tires, and they used to run them old truck rear ends, and so the wheel and the hub were big and the tires were wide, and then an axle would come off, and then when the tire and the axle came off, the axle was bam, boom, and stuff. I can't remember the guy's name, a kid back then, and we used to catch them tires, if the tire went over the track, before anybody in the track could come out there to try to locate it, we'd have it rolled off down the street, and you could sell it next weekend for $50, And so one of the tires was rolling, and that axle was flopping, and bam, and he ran at it to stop the tire. That axle caught him and just knocked him down, run over him. I can't remember his name now, but that was That was the days, you know. That back in the 50s, early 60s, 50s, 50s, and yeah, late 50s, early 60s. Yeah, so no doubt about it. When racing was racing, yeah.
I think that's pretty good. But is there any other like little memories or tidbits from that time you wanted to share?
Well, I'll tell you about Leroy Yarber. He went to North Carolina. He was a hot shot, good driver. Leroy was wide open, and he went up there racing for Larry Schenkel, and then he got hooked up with Junior Johnson, and Leroy is only the second NASCAR driver to ever win the Triple Crown, right there from the west side. Maybe Bill Elliott. And there's only two people ever win the Triple Crown. Leroy Yarber, our buddy, was one of them. And I think I told this story before, but in '65, Chrysler sent him a Dodge Coronet, '65 Coronet, 426 Hemi. They said, we want you to break this Daytona Beach speed record with this thing. So him and Ray Fox built a fuel injection blower for it. And took it out there at Daytona. I wasn't sure for years. I knew all about it, but I got some speeds mixed up. Back on them tires, they used to race in 1965 like street tires. Leroy Yarber took that car around that track. Oh my God, I think it was, I can't remember the actual number, but it was well over 200 miles an hour. 230 miles an hour or something, I think is what they clocked him at. And he was smoking the tires half of the time because he had about 1,000 horsepower. Back then was a lot of horsepower on a dirt track. And he smoked the tires and they flicked on the caution light and he let off the gas. And when he came across the finish line, he was still doing close to 200 miles an hour with the engine cut off. So back in 1965, Leroy Yarber broke that hot rod record and everything with over 280 miles an hour. And then he got in several wrecks. He got bit by a tick. And they misdiagnosed him several times. And the tick drove him insane and he kept wrecking the cars. Indianapolis, he wrecked at 200 miles an hour. And Junior Johnson spent about $250,000 trying to take him from place to place to place to find out what was wrong with him. When they finally diagnosed him, the tick had gave him Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and he was insane. He'd eat his brain up, and he was put into a mental institution. That's where he died at. But he would have been one of the greatest race car drivers of all time. Richard Petty said he was wide open. Leroy Yarber either won the race or lost the race. There wasn't no second place. You know, that was how fast he was, how dedicated he was. Friend of ours, you know.